like this on this scale. But what was your philosophy when you edited this film, as far as weaving together all these stories and voices in a way that's not just too crushingly depressing for people to be able to engage with, and that still offers a solution to these problems while educating people as to the breadth of the despair and the devastation which has resulted because of our policies?
Yeah, editing, right? There's something magic about kind of having pieces in front of you and figuring out how to assemble them in a way that connects you, the artist, to an audience. And with us, for me, something that I couldn't stop thinking about was how it hit me one day that I had missed being proud to call myself an American. I was raised in a conservative home, and I've since gone to college and gotten a little more liberal, but beside the point, I was raised feeling very proud of calling myself an American, and it hit me in editing together that was something that I think I'm not alone in feeling that. I feel embarrassment to call myself an American. I feel shame, and something that I hope this film offers our audiences is an avenue to kind of reclaim what it means to be American. And we, the people, have the power to do that. And we can choose healthcare as the means to reclaim the good things about being an American, about taking care of each other, and about, it's really about health and wellness. And so finding a middle ground of not making it too depressing and not making it not depressing enough, that was kind of sometimes at the bottom of all the decision making, was how do we show the reality and also encourage people, because we have to have some kind of optimism and hope to get anything done. And that's the message that we come away with, and that we hope audiences come away with, is if we stick together, we can do this.
That's a great answer, and it's a great point too, because I also, Gavin and I are Bible belters. Like, we grew up in Olathe, Kansas, right? Like, we grew up in that similar background in the wake of the invasion of Iraq, and and I remember particularly in the pre-Obama eras, and then in the early backlash Tea Party era, we were immersed in all of that. That was the backdrop of our childhood, essentially, in Middle America. And there was that sense of, that is something that, it is true that when you're a child and you're apolitical and, you're like, oh, Sarah Palin is doing a rally, and wow, America's the best country in the world, and what? That's crazy. And you're just like, wow, it's so tight that we were just born in the best country ever. Look around, guys. This is tight. And obviously you grow up and your politics evolve and you lose that. But I think it's so important that the left embrace this Americanism, right? And we're always so afraid of patriotism because it's been so co-opted by, a white nationalist movement, an insular, unwelcoming, very anti-American kind of sentiment, right? When we think of America that we all want to be proud of, we think of a melting pot. We think of a society that really deeply cares and is compassionate about taking care of one another in a way that you highlighted. One key part of that I would add is, giving people health care, nurturing the sick. It's one of those key tenets of the world. Is if somebody's sick, you heal them, you help them get better. And I think that if you're able to fuse that rhetoric, the pull that drives people towards those more nefarious elements of American culture, right? The antiquated, original sins of America, and moves them more towards the ideas and the ideals that America was founded on, right? Because America's always been kind of like a tale of two cities, right? Both just in the same plot of land. It's the best of times and the worst of times, depending on if you're rich, poor, white, black, whatever, right? And we can move towards, the unified one country where we're uplifting all of us, and I think that healing us is not just it cannot just be explored as literally healing us with healthcare, but beginning to heal a nation and begin to realize that we can prioritize building community, we can prioritize taking care of one another. So I think that's a really powerful point, and
Yeah, that's precisely what it kind of took us by surprise, actually, while in the edit. That message wasn't what we started with, but at a certain point, as we're really going all across America collecting stories, it became evident that healthcare is fertile ground for doing that kind of healing, and it might be the only space to begin, anyways, to do that kind of healing. It's the only space that I know of where someone like the two of us, who, by the way, are both ex-Mormons, right? We both grew up in the Mormon faith and left it behind and became liberal hippies, linked arms with a conservative, older, white Mormon man to make this movie together, and Dr. Joe Jarvis. And him and I have become dear friends, and his story is told in the film. That kind of overlap of demographic doesn't happen in this country at all, like anywhere. But the healthcare crisis is hurting all of us in a unified way that we all have something in common, right? It's a crappy thing to have in common, that our loved ones are dying and that we can't afford to get care, but it's that pain that is allowing us to like see the humanity in people that we struggle to see humanity in historically, you know. So that became a big part of our narrative.
Absolutely. And like I said, Laura, welcome back to the show. It's so great to see you again. We're always so pleased to welcome you to our platform, to hear about the work that you're doing. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what it was like from your perspective getting to be one of the subjects of this documentary film. Do you think that it's been able to bring a little bit more attention to the work that Whole Washington is doing?
I just want to rewind a little bit and say how this all started, how the Red Berets actually started, so that we can remind people that the Red Berets is born out of an idea to knit for nurses in the 99%, very much inspired by National Nurses United. Can I give a shout out to National Nurses United, Green Party National, and Nina Turner for all amplifying and, sending out like well wishes and quote tweeting the movie trailer. That feels like incredible solidarity to me. So while I have worked really, really hard locally gathering signatures for Whole Washington over the years, because I was brought in by a nurse who saw my post about knitting for nurses and knitting for National Improved Medicare for All, and Catherine Lewandowski is the one that brought me into local organizing. I do like to kind of back away and look at the broad picture of things and say, well, actually, the idea and a lot of our organizing over the years has been this kind of multi-prong approach. We were really, really involved with Bernie 220, amplifying Nina Turner and Warren Gunnels, and I organized local events for Bernie 220. So I kind of want to get that perspective in here, because, we focused a lot on Whole Washington, but then we try to go, we as in we Red Berets, we craftivists, we've just been trying to craft locally, but craft for the entire movement. And it was that piece, if I'm remembering correctly, that I shared with Ryan Knight on Amped Up Podcast, was really about because that was right after, just to give people the context, that was right after Force the Vote. That was coming right off the energy of Force the Vote. And Whole Washington was one of the only, I think actually the only healthcare organization that actually put out a statement in support of Force the Vote. And so many of us that was the first time I was on both of your podcasts.
I remember that well.
Coming out in strong support of Force the Vote. So the reason that I bring that forward is because that is the kind of energy that was happening when I was on the podcast with Ryan Knight. And so during that time on the podcast, I talked about local efforts with Whole Washington, but I was also asked about, are progressives doing enough to kind of push for what we need right now? And my answer was, I tried to give, kind of a fair answer, but kind of in retrospect, I would have been a little bit more forceful. I did say no at the time, but, we've just really been in this big process together. So, just a couple of days later, when Kenny reached out to ask if anyone had done a film about the Red Berets movement, I just thought, wow, what is this for real? What an enormous opportunity, to try to convey, to put them in touch with everybody that I knew through my own organizing, who were my big heroes and sheroes and influencers, who had been part of the movement for Medicare for All and local healthcare justice organizing that I was a part of. And so the people well, that was the first thing that I did, is sort of say, who can we put Kenny in touch with? So, as they said, the first trip was actually like dauntingly overwhelming, because I think that we actually had sort of 12 or 14 interviews lined up for Kenny, in addition to a rally outside of Rep. Kilmer's office where we demanded Medicare for all, in addition to 2 separate craftivist circles. That was all filmed in the first weekend of filming, and at one point I was like, is this too much? Kenny was probably like, you think? But I just knew, like, this was I never dreamed that we would get this opportunity to get a documentary film. So I just knew that I had to do everything in my power to reach out and, try to bring Brianna Joy Gray and, of course, Georgia Davenport, who's the founder of Whole Washington, and she helped put us in touch with Wendell Potter and Dr. Jarvis, because they had both been authors of the month book club. They had come to present with Whole Washington. So that's how this whole, and let's see, Justin Jackson involved in Force the Vote. So that context is kind of important, because this very interesting collection of people, of voices that you see in Healing Us are all part of that constellation. So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much once again, Laura, for being here and for all the great and super hard work you do. I guess just another question I had for all of you guys would be what kind of reactions you've gotten, not just from people who are already on the same page as us as far as the need for Medicare for all, but maybe from some people that, didn't necessarily consider themselves to be on the left, or progressives, or people that would have supported Bernie Sanders, for example. I mean, I'm sure, how could you not be moved by what's in this movie? But I'm just wondering what kind of reactions you all have gotten from people.
There we go. We've had amazing reactions to the film so far. We've had the privilege of doing a few live screenings, and we have a few more coming. The thing you remember the most are tears. I mean, in the movie theater, we have some very quiet parts of the movie where you can hear people breathing, next to you, and they're in pretty intense parts of the film. And in a screening we had in Seattle, I remember almost feeling bad for like I had done something to the audience, because there was audible sobbing going on in the audience. So the movie is emotional, and it kind of can be hard to watch at times. But we've also, the other kind of reactions we've gotten is we've seen the evidence that it works. It's working. One thing I've really wanted from this film was to not be just a part of the echo chamber, right? I don't want to just shoot this message back out at people who already agree with the message so they can clap for me and pat me on the back. That's easy, right? But Maddie and I have both had friends and family who are traditionally more conservative, some of them defining themselves as libertarian, saying, you've changed my mind. You've changed my mind on this. We've had those exact words from multiple people that I wouldn't have guessed that would have happened. Yeah. So thus far, the reactions are very encouraging.
Is there plans to kind of do the festival circuit with this short, or with this not short but full feature film? Just in the short term or long term, are we thinking about like trying to do that whole deal, or what's the game plan as far as getting this in front of as many eyes as possible? Because I mean, clearly when people see it, it's going to evoke an emotional response. But I didn't know if you guys had any plans to, as far as that goes.
So the festival circuit can be kind of a choke point, actually, for getting the film to as many people as soon as possible. So while we will be hitting up selected festivals here and there as time goes by, it's a priority for us right now for it to just be available, which is why we went Amazon and Vimeo on demand right away, which, by the way, those two things that are on our website, Amazon is really easy for lots of people. but a good chunk of it goes to Jeff Bezos.
Half.
So all of your socialist followers, if you want to help the artist directly, get it from Vimeo on demand, and you don't send a chunk of change to Bezos. All right, thought your crowd would care about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we just
But beyond that, we do have several more theatrical screenings coming together. There's something magic that happens when you have community around you when you hold these events. So we have a big one coming up in Denver and another one in Salt Lake City. Tickets will be available on the same website. Salt Lake City tickets are available now. But then moving forward, what we really want to do is give the resources to communities, to colleges, to churches, to unions, to be able to hold their own screenings. That could be small scale or large scale. By contacting us through the website, we will hook people up with whatever they need to put together a screening of the film.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
That's great to hear. How about you, Laura? Have you had any exciting or interesting reactions from folks you've showed this to?
I think, yeah, I'll say, yeah, recently online there was somebody who is a Trump voter and really believes in Medicare for all, and they said that they had watched Healing Us and that they had also shared it in a super chat on Jimmy Dore, and was like really wanting to see people share the movie. And so then I thanked them for their feedback and said, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what was it about the film, or what are some things that you liked about it, or that spoke to you? And yeah, they really liked hearing Dr. Jarvis's reason why free markets don't work in healthcare, why capitalism doesn't work in healthcare, and also the religious, the for the hurt of my people, the balm of Gilead. So those two things spoke to that person. And then kind of on the other side of things, here in person at the premiere, the Washington Black Panther Party showed up in force for us, and Bunchy Carter actually it was Aja fed back that, if I get this a little bit wrong, Kenny, you say it better than me. Will you say it?
Yeah, he said. He said they said I really like the film and said all the things we expected them to say, but then ended by saying that they also really love that old Mormon dude. Is that right?
Yeah, cutting through the partisan, no partisan bullshit.
Yeah.
And they also really enjoyed me crapping all over Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Those were their words. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, it's a weird movie in that the traditional way of looking at your movie is you have one specific target audience in mind, and you're going to shape it all around what that audience wants to see. But I think we kind of made a movie that will at some point make every audience feel a bit uncomfortable. Because like Laura said, there's a section where Dr. Jarvis talks about his faith as a Christian and why he believes Jesus is pro healthcare for all, and quotes from the Old Testament. He talks a lot about the Old Testament. And I never thought I'd be making a movie with something like that in it. But that's the point. We're highlighting that this cause is literally everyone's cause right now.
Right. Well, that's such an important message to drive home. And obviously everyone at some point is going to need health care, whether you're young and able-bodied now. At some point you're going to find yourself in the position of needing health care. So it's, clearly something that everyone can relate to. And yeah, obviously Joe Jarvis is such a powerful speaker, despite the fact that I don't have a lot of agreements with him probably on things outside of the specific topic. It's undeniable that he makes such a compelling point from his perspective on the subject matter. So I think it's really important that you guys were able to include that perspective, and I think it's just going to increase the reach and this film's ability to change people's minds and speak to people of all different backgrounds, which is of course the point in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. There's this huge problem in politics where, people will just immediately tune out if they see that somebody doesn't have the like political background that they have or their same political ideology. That's why I think it's a thoughtful, tactic, even if it was just by happenstance, to have somebody like Joe Jarvis and have Laura Fielding, other individuals whom I identify as like ardent leftists, because then somebody who watches it and comes from a conservative background, maybe they hold their faith really close to them and they feel more conservative. They can watch that and say, oh well, I am from the same background as this guy. He also is conservative and values his faith, but I also agree that like when I read whatever X scripture of mine, it says that we heal the sick. And so it kind of brings everybody, regardless of whether you're approaching it from like a brotherly love kind of a situation as a leftist, or oh, this is what my like spiritual guide, God, whatever demands of me, like reinforcing that. So from multiple different perspectives, regardless of what background or how you arrive at this issue, I think it just unifies us all, because as Gavin mentioned, everybody's going to get sick someday. Everybody's going to break their arm. I remember it's contagious too, bro. I broke my almost broke my elbow. That freaking 2 weeks later, Gavin falls and like has to, you know what I mean? It's just like you don't know when this is gonna happen. And we're both like, fuck, dude, like this is gonna be expensive. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and we're like we're like single fucking dudes. Like we're in the best case scenario for something bad to fucking happen to us. I mean, it's not like we have 5 kids and we're the fucking sole income provider for them or something like that. You know what I mean? So
I do know what you mean.
And yeah, I'm sure you know better than what I even know what I mean. You know what I mean, Kenny? So it's like anybody can relate to us. But you know what I mean? Even me, where I mean, I'm out here like I'm trying to look out for my friends and myself. That's like my responsibility, right? But it's or to somebody who has like the intense responsibility of like being the patriarch or matriarch of a family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or think about people that have the responsibility for a business and their employees. That's the other thing. Healthcare keeps people from having families, from having businesses, from leaving a job that maybe they should leave, or leaving a family that maybe they should leave. It's our problem. Our healthcare system makes everything in America toxic. Everything.
Absolutely. Well, if any of you guys want to say anything else about Healing Us, about where people can watch it, if you have any final words to say, please go ahead and say them. Zach and I are about, at the end of our stream, but the floor is your guys'.
Cool. Like we started the show with, the movie's available for purchase now. You could watch it right away by using Amazon or Vimeo on demand from healingusnetwork.com. If you're someone who likes to own something tangible like this, we're going to be selling, remember these things? We're going to be selling DVDs and Blu-rays probably within a week.
Nice.
Well, that'll launch as well. And then just follow us on social for information about screenings that'll be coming up. But really the biggest ask, if you have a community, if you have a group, a community, a school, any kind of audience that you have access to, contact us and we will work with you to set up your own screening event of Healing Us.
And that includes us or anyone involved in the film that we have a connection with and can wrangle, hopping on Zoom after the screening and joining a conversation too. We're trying to do this from the grassroots, like almost anti-establishment, so that everything's transparent and above ground and we can continue to trust each other. That's one of the benefits of all of us having these diverse voices. All of us being in the film together proves that we can do this together. It proves that we can have socialists and libertarians and Republicans and Democrats and Green Party and independents together and work together. We can be adults and we can do it with love at the center. So reach out, please. We're eager to start sending people. We're sending the masses out. Screen yourself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any closing thoughts, Laura?
Yes, a couple of calls to action. Yes, it would be so cool for those people that are near enough to Utah, to Salt Lake City and Colorado and any of the screenings to meet you all in person. I'm going to be going to both of those, being from eastern rural Utah myself. So look at this. Look at this connection that we have there. So I'm very excited to go support Utah with their local efforts and just be there for the film, and also Colorado for universal health care, because they have had this long time connection with the Red Berets. They loved the idea when they first heard about it. So I'm super excited about that. If people are close enough to come get tickets and join us, it would be so neat to meet people in person. And then the second ask is just like, in light of all of the energy and debate that's out there right now, particularly with presidential campaigns 2024. My big ask that I've been doing and that I hope people will join us in is just ask everybody, have you seen Healing Us? Will you watch Healing Us? And that includes the presidential candidates that would be in the neighborhood or absolutely support this, such as Marianne Williamson and Dr. Cornel West. Because my question, regardless of party, is what is the theory of change? Like, even if Bernie Sanders had somehow won the delegates outright in 2020, and even if the DNC would have let him get away with that nomination, which I personally have very strong cynicism and doubts towards. I think nothing in this universe was letting him get through with that nomination, but that's a whole nother story. But how that relates to Healing Us is, what is the theory of change for any candidate for president who is running? Because if you were to somehow get to a certain percentage, or we hope someday to have a progressive for national improved Medicare for all elected, you would need an entire grassroots movement behind you. You would need many, many more people to see Healing Us movie or get involved in our partner organizations that are on healingusnetwork.com. And so, you know, my question, my plea, my request is that both of you, Vanguard Pod, that you ask other independent media, will they please amplify? Can we please get some support from candidates? Can we get people to lift the grassroots? Because no candidate, I don't care which party you're running in, you're not going to do this alone. You're not going to do this without garnering a massive supportive infrastructure. So
Absolutely.
That's my call to action, and thank you to everyone who has already seen and amplified this movie a ton, who participated and organized, and thanks for having us on the show today. And
you guys have a absolutely wonderful rest of your week. Keep up the great work, and thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been so inspiring watching this documentary from the very early stages of its development to now seeing the final product. Like I said, it's a beautiful film. It's a powerful film. Zach and I, you know, have been inspired by documentary filmmaking our entire lives, going back to the early movies by Michael Moore. We know how important and powerful documentary, you know, filmmaking can be as far as pushing a movement forward, as far as educating the masses and the populace as to important issues facing us all. So we, you know, strongly recommend everyone check out this documentary, share it around. If someone you know isn't moved by your arguments for why we need universal health care, then I promise you showing them this film will move them, and they will agree with you by the time it is over. So this is a powerful piece of work. It's really important. And thank you so much, Kenny and Maddie, for, you know, telling these stories, documenting this activism, and making all of this possible.
Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much.
yes, thank you.
See you guys next time. So yeah, that was a great chat. Like I said, it's been so cool watching this documentary develop to the point that now it's finally finished. It's available for all of you guys to watch. So inspiring.
And get that shit on Vimeo, bro. They were nice about it. Like, if you're listening to us, fuck Amazon Prime. These guys need to make their cash back. There was a lot of expenses that go in. Making a documentary isn't fucking cheap, bro. Okay, we made like a 10-minute documentary and it cost us out the fucking ass, and it was not as impressive as this. Susan Sarandon did not narrate this. Okay, the one we put out, right? So go watch it. They need your cash. They need the full $20. So watch that shit on Vimeo. Yeah, and watch it twice. Tell your friends to watch it. Tell your mom to watch it. Buy it for your dad for Father's Day. Come on now.
Absolutely. So thank you so much to Kenny for stopping by, for Maddie for stopping by, and of course to Laura Fielding, and the Red Berets and the whole Washington folks that are putting in that hard work on the ground, trying to keep the ball rolling, trying to keep the, you know, momentum alive in this fight for universal health care. So many people seem to pack up and, you know, peace out after Bernie Sanders lost, but you cannot say that about the whole Washington crew. You cannot say that about the Red Berets. They refuse to give up, and honestly, it's an inspiration to us all. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation with Kinney, Maddie, and Laura Fielding. A couple more super chats to quickly address. Thank you so much, Carissa Hallstrom, for the $10. If you're in Vancouver, Washington, Leah Perkle, who is featured in the film with her husband, just announced for Vancouver, Washington City Council on a badass, super progressive platform. She is also looking to set up a screening. Well, that's super cool, Carissa. Thank you so much for letting us know about that. I'll definitely look more into Leah Perkle and check out her platform, which you say is super progressive. So that's awesome, and that's really cool. Hopefully she's able to set up a screening for perhaps her constituency or potential constituency.
Yeah, I actually had no idea there was a Vancouver, Washington. Just Googled it. Apparently it's over by Oregon. So you guys are rocking and rolling over there. Shout out to you, Chris. I really appreciate the super chat. Shout out to Leah Perkle, a base comrade that's looking to set up a screening. So I'm sure that they can connect with Laura or Kenny, and they'll be able to help them out with that. And then one final shout out to our main man of the hour, Walt. How's it going? He's about to go start his protest. We're wishing you luck, my man. Go out there, start a fire, raise hell for the people. We're with you.
Yeah, shout out to you, Walter. Shout out to you for doing that good work, for hitting the streets and protesting. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for the $2, man. Always appreciate that as well. And appreciate you all for tuning in today. It's been an awesome show. We had a lot of fun today. Really glad to be able to platform our good friends of the show and activists that have just completed the Healing Us documentary. You guys should all go check that out. But thank you all for tuning in today. It's been a really, really fun time, as always.
Oh, yeah, it's been a real romp. Love chatting with the Red Berets and the folks that made the Healing Us movie. And, shout out to all you fuckers that keep the lights on here, though, as we do begin and end every live stream with a shout-out to the patron community. Really appreciate you guys, Vanguardians, Super Vanguardians, comrades. You're all comrades to us, but if you kick us a couple of bucks a month, really goes a long way. Helps us keep the lights on here, as we mentioned. Keep us coming at you guys regularly. Keep us, doing our thing over here. If you like watching the show and you don't want to see it disappear, this is a great way to keep us, afloat. But with all that said, links in the description. Glad you guys tuned in today.
Yeah, thank you guys.